All right, everybody, welcome to the 339th edition of the Holy Backboard Podcast. I am Dustin here in sunny Rip City, and I got my man.
Sage just put on the portable AC unit because it's getting kind of toasty. But what's not toasty is watching these Blue Devils try and play basketball because it's such a crapshoot. But we'll get into that even more a little later. So we're gonna be talking about the two draft eligible Dukies.
I will focus primarily on Dereck Lively the second, 7'1", 215-pound center from Duke. Reportedly has a 7'7" wingspan, is 19 years old, and he was the number 3 overall prospect in the class of 2022, according to Rivals out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You look at his statistics from this past year, and he was ACC All-Freshman, 2023 All-ACC Tournament team member, and he was on the ACC All-Defensive team. In 34 games for the Blue Devils, he started 27 of those games, played in just under 21 minutes, averaged 5.2 points on 66% shooting from the field. Did not really come close to having much of an impact on the three-point line. 15% from three, but that's on less than half an attempt per game, so don't put too much stock there. And also 60% from the foul line, but he only took one free throw attempt per game, so tough to put a lot of stock in those numbers. Grabbed 5.4 rebounds, handed out 1.1 assists, 0.5 steals, 2.4 blocks, and Sage, he did this for a Blue Devil team that kind of fell short of expectations in Coach John Shire's first season in Durham. And the thing that stands out to me when you look at Dereck Lively is just the overall variance and where people kind of see him projected. You have Tankathon,
Yes,
who
totally.
has him as the 20th best prospect. You have the Ringer, who has him all the way up at number 15. But for me, I think he's much lower on my draft board just because, and if you follow the NFL and the NFL draft, college football, there was a player, and I'm going to draw parallels to it in Bijan Robinson. Running backs are kind of like the rim running centers of the NBA game. They're an absolute luxury, and you don't really need them to win.
Mhm.
But if you have everything and you have multiple picks and you feel like they're the best player available, then by all means go out and grab that player. And that's exactly how I feel about Dereck Lively. I don't think you take him in the lottery. I don't think you take him if you just have, like, if you have other holes to fill. I think you really need to address those, because in today's day and age of NBA basketball, even the elite of the elite, when it comes to rim protectors, and that's prime like Rudy Gobert, can still be played off of the floor because of the lack of offensive skill set in their toolbox. And that's exactly what we're looking at with Dereck Lively. He is going to be a dominant weak side shot blocker, and he's going to be a dominant pick and roll threat off
I,
for a lot
I
of
like his movement a lot. Like his movement skills are great.
he does have pretty good movement, so you can take a chance and say, yeah, I think you can go out there and you can hedge, you can really try to disrupt and blow up a pick and roll and stay out there on an island. Given his length, he is able to defend those guards out there and close out on shots. Like, he can play off, he can kind of almost do a pseudo drop coverage and in hedge because of the length and athleticism that he does possess. But if I'm the Blazers, and that's primarily what we're looking at here, the intriguing aspect of Dereck Lively is if Portland does luck out on Tuesday and lands Victor Wembanyama. And I say that because you want Wembanyama, similar to what OKC is going to do with Chet Holmgren, is you want to play him at that 4. You don't need
Mhm.
him down there taking a bunch of body blows, playing in the paint. He is a perimeter unicorn. Let him go out there and just space the floor, give him as much room to operate. And on the defensive end, really have other avenues for him to, I think, just kind of collapse the floor as much as possible. And if you can add the length of a Lively with a Wembanyama, you are shrinking that court significantly on the defensive end. Wembanyama can go out and play on the perimeter. Lively can as well. I mean, you just have so much length that you could really disrupt whatever any opposition wants to throw at you. So that's where I would love Lively. But if Portland doesn't luck out and gets Wembanyama, I don't know if it makes a ton of sense just because the skill set is so limited at this point with Lively. I mean, I was watching the playoffs and you look at a guy like Nikola Jokic and just the touch he has is unprecedented that I've ever seen. Lively is the complete opposite. I mean, Buddy has no touch around the rim, and it's going to take a long time for him to figure that out. And there's a reason Gobert was played off of the playoffs or off of the court is because he couldn't take advantage of when teams went small, and he was able to post up against a smaller defender. He just didn't have that touch around the rim. Now, if Lively does three things, bulks up. He's at 230 right now. He needs to get bigger. He needs to get more touchdown low. And if he does develop just even a league average catch and shoot from three, that is going to completely unlock him as a prospect. Like if you looked at the AAU tape versus what he's shown at Duke, the shot's not completely broke, but he just lacks so much confidence. I think he just needs to go in the lab. I think this is a prime G League candidate year
Oh yeah.
one. And if he is just able to do that, I mean, now you're going from just a one-dimensional player to a 2 to 3 dimensional player that can now play on the court. Because if you play him right now, he's going to muck up your offense, and it's going to be, you have to have the perfect scheme and skill set around him to make up for him just kind of clogging that paint.
I feel like the Duke just, I was really interested in what Duke could do as a with Shire when he would let AJ Griffin run offense a bit and do it. So I was excited to see what Shire could do because of what he did with AJ and let him dribble the ball and initiate some of the offense. But now it's just the Jeremy Roach show. And I was looking, and Lively's usage rate's like the lowest it can possibly be. So we just don't see it. So I could argue, and I don't really believe it, but I could argue that we just didn't see it because of Shire's bad player management. He could be so much more. And if someone had him at 15, I wouldn't argue with it much because we just didn't see it. But I also could see like, oh yeah, if he's 28, yeah, I get it. He just did not produce. It Watching him try and do anything in that Duke offense and defense, it's just tough because of how mismanaged it was with assets. But the fact is that he is he is an athletic guy that can play defense and rebound. There are ways to make it so he isn't a complete non-factor offensively, but I just don't know Chauncey Billups is going to be that guy to do it. I mean, if Chauncey's there, a lot of things change between, what we think about these prospects. So, but it's just a shame. Like if I was Dereck Lively, I would have hit that transfer portal because it's just not a good. It's such a bad look for him on that Duke team, and I know Duke's the premium place to go, but god damn, it was just a mismanage of assets. Like I would love to see what he can do, like with more pick and roll. And I know the college game is not based on getting easy points off the pick and roll, but I would love to see if okay, how good is he at navigating the pick and roll and finishing and stuff like that. So it for both of these prospects, it was a huge mismanagement of assets. But I feel like if you have a lot of things, he is a very nice luxury pick to have. And if, like we now have a G League, I think he would do very good, but he just needs to have more usage rate and responsibilities because he was like at Nerlens Noel level of being involved offensively. And for being like the second, arguably one of the top 3 high school recruits to just be treated like absolutely nothing. Like the backup center got more usage than the starting blue chip number 2, number 3 player in the class. So either Dereck Lively is just absolutely awful, or it was a huge mismanagement of assets to just absolutely not include him in anything. But I see a lot of draft people talk about how they're worried about his lack of posting up. There's only 4 players that post up. It doesn't matter. What if he's a good offensive player? He's rim running. He is not trying to post up in the center of the paint. That is not part of the game unless you're the elite of the elites. So
Yeah, these top prospects need to stop going to Duke. I mean, seriously, like even Bankero looked somewhat mediocre in my eyes
yeah.
at Duke, and you saw how he was unleashed at
Mm-hmm.
Orlando. I mean, if you were Dereck Lively, you need to think of I need to be spoon fed everything. That's
Mm-hmm.
where he is right now. Everything has to be served on a silver platter for him to finish it. How good would he have looked, at Gonzaga next to
Creighton.
Timmy, at UCLA playing with Tiger Campbell and Jaime Jaquez,
Yeah.
even UConn with Jordan Hawkins, getting so much of the attention there under, just
Mm-hmm.
clearly running a great program under Dan Hurley. Like these prospects need to quit getting, I think, wined and dined by these blue blood programs just because of the name across their jersey. Like when has Duke been like legit good? And I'm talking about like national championship. It's been like 2015 is the last time they've won
Yeah,
a nat.
it was the Tyus year, right?
And they had a true freaking point guard in
Yeah.
Tyus Jones. The collegiate game is solely based on guard play. You have to have a floor general in the truest sense that is just going to set everything up and just be the conductor of that offense. And when you go, especially to Duke, who hasn't had a great point guard, especially a great point guard draft prospect in ages, you're
Mm-hmm.
just setting yourself up to not be, utilized properly. But one other thing I want to discuss about Lively is the success of a Walker Kessler, right? And everyone saw how, valuable he was for Utah, first team all rookie. I believe he finished top 3 in rookie of the year voting, was taken in the 20s. Clearly in a redraft, he's going easily in the lotto.
Oh,
And you and I both watched a lot of Walker Kessler last year because we were doing deep dives into Jabari Smith, and we caught pretty much every Auburn game that came on television. And I'll be honest, I didn't see a ton of lively live action because had a young one on the way, and clearly that took up all of my time. But just watching there's two things that stood out to me when you watch the tape with Lively versus watching Kessler in live action. Walker Kessler was elite, like the elite of the elite at shot blocking at the collegiate
yeah.
level. He averaged, I believe, 5.4 block, or excuse me, 4.6 blocks per game. Like he was the defensive player of the year in the SEC. And he was getting a lot of his blocks off of just phenomenal instincts and timing.
In
When you watch
positioning.
Lively, it's just kind of no-brainer weak side shot blocks. Like he's using that incredible length and he's going out and getting it. Like there's not a lot of standing up his man and just meeting him at the apex, right? Like
I,
he's
I
not
get a
going.
Mark Williams vibe from him.
Yeah, he's not going to be that type of defender. And two, Walker Kessler's 245 coming out of Auburn. Lively is 230. That 15 pounds at the NBA level is a huge difference. And Kessler also showed flashes on offense, right? He also showed the ability, even in Bruce Pearl's offense, he got a couple of opportunities and he showed a 3-point range. He showed some signs of life on the offensive end. Lively just hasn't shown that. So I caution Blazer fans out there to say, "Oh, we're just going to draft the next Walker Kessler." They're
The,
completely in different stratospheres as prospects. I was so high on Walker Kessler, and I'm glad to see he's doing well because it's always fun when an evaluation of a prospect matches up to their actual production. He's got a long ways to go before he is a Walker Kessler type of prospect.
is
So
that the comp that's going around for
no,
their?
no, but
Oh,
I do think you're going to see a lot of pundits say, "Look at the success that Walker Kessler had.
uh,
We had him so low, we thought he was just a defensive-minded big. We got to go out and find the next best draft prospect." And people might say, "Oh, it's Lively." You
yeah,
also have to
it
look at
ain't.
you have to look at the production. And I know he may have not been given the chance, but when I look at shot blockers at the collegiate level, when you see a number over 4 blocks, that's just there is no denying that production. That is at some point that has to translate at that number. Lively getting 2.4, that's an all right number. It could translate, but it doesn't. It's not a near lock like Kessler's was. So I want to caution fans out there who see the success that Walker Kessler had and say, "Yep, we're going to replicate that with Dereck Lively," because it's not as
two
concrete.
di- two completely different. Like I don't feel like Walker is the best movement guy either. I'm standing in the paint trying to get these blocks where
He's also a better, I think, man defender. Like if you're trying to defend someone mano a mano, he has
yeah, but
the beef to do so.
yeah, absolutely. But Lively, like if you're trying to get Lively, the like he use that athleticism. Like that's where I'm kind of at. Like, yeah, I don't see him being able to handle the beef of the NBA, but if he can use his athleticism and you know develop some of those the footwork and that type of defense, I could see him being a pretty big problem defensively for other players. It's just how good of a defender can he be for the lack of offense that we've seen thus far. So that's kind of where we're at. But again, like if someone says he's good enough to be a lottery, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna argue that hard. If he's gonna be in the 30s, you know what? I'm not gonna argue that hard. It's one of those
20s,
like
20s. That's his sweet spot, in my opinion. Also, I would caution it's easy just to read like the ringer and their write up and just kind of take that as the word, the gospel, so to speak. I just got done watching Adam Spinnerella, Coach Spins, the boxing one, his scouting recap, and I believe he dropped a stat that said that Lively was like 3 of 10 on hooks this year. Like just the touch was abysmal. And you go to the ringer and their write up, and for the pluses, they say he displays touch near the rim. He doesn't. No, not right now. So when you read things, go back, and even if you're watching somebody's scouting reports that they produce for you, always find ones that are going to show you the positives and the negatives, because he does not have touch. Like right now, he does not have touch. So that could be he could develop touch. He doesn't have it, and I also think it's touch is something that's really hard to quantify.
mm-hmm.
And a player like Jokic, he just has it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can go into the gym and practice 1-footers off balance, getting pushed in the back as much as you want, but like there's nothing like a game speed attempt. Jokic just has touch. Some players just have great hands. Some wide receivers can just catch every ball thrown to their way. Others have hands of stone.
Omar
Like,
Ashik, stone
yeah,
hands.
it's just something you can teach or something you can't. If I'm drafting Lively, it's for the lob threat on the pick and roll, and it's for just length on the defensive end. Like I don't bank on getting anything else. That's all I'm gonna say.
So my comps for him was Nerlens Noel, Mitchell Robinson, and if he gets really, really good, it's Tyson Chandler.
Oh, I like the TC comparison. Yeah, he's gonna have to get a mean. I haven't seen enough, but he's gonna have to get a mean streak in him, like Tyson Chandler had. I really like the Tyson Chandler. Yeah, I don't think he's DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre is an elite athlete at that size,
and he had beef.
Yeah, dunking over Brandon Knight. Lively's not going to do that. I kind of obviously I think there's a lot of Willie Cauley-Stein to Lively, and also an odd comparison that if he does ever develop that catch and shoot ability and he does beef up, I think if he like peaks, he's going to be a combination of Brooke Lopez in New Jersey with the mobility, but also Brooke Lopez in Milwaukee with the newly found defensive instincts and 3-point shooting, right? So you kind of get both the best world of Brooke Lopez in Lively. Like I don't think that's ever going to happen, but like when you throw in the potential to be a catch and shoot threat at 7-1, it's a possibility. But again, I think Mitchell Robinson probably is the best bet if I'm being honest.
Well,
and
look at the usage rate of both of those players, and it's just like, well, this makes too much sense. Both of them just don't.
If you're getting that player in the 20s, I think that's totally fine. And again, like,
but he might not even be Nerlens Noel. He might just not be a professional basketball player.
He's he does
the big. He's like a big what if guy.
He's like Jaren Jackson Jr. He's like Zach Collins. He's a foul magnet. He's going to have to figure out how to defend without fouling. And again, I think you're looking at a 4 to 5 year prospect. Like you're really going to have to invest. You're going to have to G League him. You're going to have to be patient. And And that's just kind of what it is going to be. He's not going to be a day one fix for your defense. He's going to be a 4 to 5 year fix that you're going to have to really put a lot of, time, effort, and energy into developing. And again, if Portland
And
does get Wembanyama, that's where you want to go after a Lively, because the length on the defense, there is only a finite amount of operating room in the half court. You can shrink that significantly with two mobile bigs with, God, almost, you're looking at 15 to 16 feet of wingspan combined. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, you could truly be a lockdown defense with those two roaming out there. You could do, if you got a coach with any sort of creativity on the defensive end of the floor, like a Nick Nurse, I mean, it could really change the complete complexion of the NBA with having those two in there. I mean, that's Twin Towers, like
that can move.
like Gen Z. Like
Yeah.
that's just 3.0, not even 2.0.
So for the second Duke player, there's Dariq Whitehead, who is a 6'6", 190-pound small forward. And I honestly think he's heavier than that. I would say he's about 210, 215, 220. He was an ESPN #2 player. He is 18 years old and will be 18 when the draft starts. He's very young. And I think that there's something about me and what I like in a draft prospect where the prospect used to be a very athletic, good shooter that goes to Duke, just like AJ Griffin. But Dariq has a lot of AJ Griffin in his game. Both are very nutty catch and shoot shooters. Dariq, when he first went to Duke, had no lift, but he stayed in the air forever. He just had no lift because of he had a heel injury. I thought he was going to tear his Achilles one game. It was a very scary injury, but it turned out to be all right. His heel needs another surgery, but they said he'll be good to go for the season. So obviously there's a lot of negatives right here while I'm talking about it. But what I see in him is a guy that can relocate and shoot threes. He still has a really quick first step so he can get by the defender. And then he started to get his bounce back so he can be more athletic at the hoop. I don't really know if he'll ever recover enough athletically to be like one of those just super bouncy wings. Because when I saw his high school tape, I'm like, this dude and the guy that I saw at Duke are completely different humans. He's definitely a G League guy, but the things that I can count on is the tough shot making, the catch and shoot. He's gonna be one of those classic off ball wings, but he's a power wing, so he can use his strength and get into the paint and do some work. And the one thing that he has that AJ Griffin doesn't, he actually tries really hard defensively and puts in that effort. Obviously, Coach John Shire really didn't do well with either of these two prospects, but I think Dariq got it even worse because he didn't even get consistent time. But when you look at him, it's like, okay, he fits what you're looking at as a wing. He definitely has the shooting ability. Will keep him on the floor. His defense is good. And like when you watch him in his high school tape with Cade at Mount Verde, it's like, this dude's special. So it's one of those, if he recovers, plays that I seem to just fall in love with every year since AJ Griffin. I mean, it's a tough one with all the injury issues, but I know a lot of people see potential with him. If he didn't have the injury issues, he was like a top 15 guy for me. Now with the injury issues, I take him in the second and hope to God he gets healthy. But I would say that his bottom percentile, he's not in the league. He hits AJ, and then I have a weird comp for him as the top comp. I think he's Desmond Bane because both of them are good defenders, good shooters, and Dariq as a passer is actually, I guess I forgot to talk about him as a passer. He's really a high level passer off the drive. So getting the bulky body that can make passes off drives and shoot and play defense kind of reminds me of Desmond Bane. So thank you to everybody who was listening to the Dukies. There's a lot of negatives. There's some positives to both of these prospects, but you know, they're the both of those guys are rated in the Knicks pick area, and I don't know if either of these guys are worthy of that pick as it stands right now, because there's some really good guys like Chris Murray that's rated in the 30s on some mocks. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about these Dukies, or should we wrap this bad boy up?
No, our next episode will be reacting to the draft lottery. Will it be tears of joy, tears of sorrow? We don't know, but Tuesday will determine a lot about Portland's offseason direction. And then we will also come out you with mock draft 2.0 using the official draft lottery uh
Results.
results. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
And then we'll probably talk about your foreign Boo Ryan after that,
Yes, sir.
to get you excited for that. So thank you so much for listening to the Duke episode. We will be back, I guess, Tuesday to react about this draft lottery. It's a very important lottery, and we will be talking to you guys later. Peace.